I'm Alain Burrese, and I'm here with Ben Gladwin. And in this video, we want to share some thoughts about Reflex Protect, the non-lethal self-defense spray. You know, Ben, I've been teaching improvised weapons to people forever because I was teaching in locations like schools and churches. They weren't allowed to have firearms. And I couldn't teach anything but improvised weapons. And then I learned about Reflex Protect, and I told the CEO, Joe Anderson, that fills a gap. That's the missing piece that we can actually use now. And that's why I got involved with the company. Why did you get involved?
Well, I have to admit I was skeptical at first, and that was largely based on my experience with pepper spray. As a police officer at the police academy, they spray us so that we know what the effects are like, because chances are when we're out in the field, we're going to come in contact with it, and we're going to have to be able to perform our duties anyway. The way they do that is they literally spray us and give us tasks to do after being sprayed. So I was sprayed in the face, and then I had to shoot a target with this ammunition pistol, which is a real gun that shoots paint bullets. Then I had to do defensive tactics, which is a role player in a padded suit coming at me aggressively. I had to defend myself. And then I also had to handcuff him and put him in a patrol car. What I found was that I was able to complete all of those tasks before the effects of the pepper spray kicked in. Now, when they finally did kick in, it worked well. It really shut me down. So I saw the value there. But what I also learned that day was not just me, but 40 other sober, motivated police cadets were able to fight through the effects of pepper spray. And then when I was in the field, I found that it was very similar, that there were a lot of suspects that could fight through the effects of pepper spray, and it didn't always kick in immediately. So I did use pepper spray for part of my career, but always knowing that the results were varied at best. When I heard about the Reflex Protect, I said, this is great. We always talk about when you have that panic response and that adrenaline dump, you lose your fine motor skills. So I really like the spray head. It's super easy to use. Just pop that out, boom, you're good to go. Those are all gross motor skills. That's great. Very easy to aim. It has sights, but you don't necessarily need them because it sprays in a tight stream. So I thought that was also great as well, because you could just pull the trigger and track onto your target. All that was good, but I was still skeptical about actually how effective the spray was. So in order to say, okay, I'm going to endorse this, I'm going to train for this, I needed to be sprayed. It turns out that it works better than pepper spray. And what got me on board was after being sprayed, I realized that this is different. It's different than pepper spray. This was designed to work well on humans. And the Presidia gel in here is effective immediately. The only thing I can really describe it being similar to is if you have a spill on a table and you take a dry paper towel and throw it on that water, how rapidly that water absorbs through the paper towel. I felt like that same thing happened with my eyes. I felt like when the gel hit my eyes, it immediately went straight to the back of my eyeballs, and the pain was intense. I would have to say it was more intense than pepper spray. I was shut down, and I was really caught by surprise because I felt I was going to fight through it a lot better than I did. I did have a model gun in my hand that was taken away from me, and I don't even remember that happening. So I knew that this was different. I knew that in the hands of a teacher or a nurse or a church official, this had the potential to save lives. This could stop somebody's ability to cause harm to others when it's used. And even more impressive was the Reflex Remove Decontaminant. When I was sprayed with pepper spray, it hurt for hours. And we were using baby shampoo and cold water and trying to scrub that out of our eyes. And once it finally did get better, we would go take a warm shower and it would reactivate just like we had recently been sprayed again. Within 2.5 minutes, I was walking, I was talking, I had my eyes open. So I knew that worst case scenario, if this did hit somebody who was maybe on the periphery, maybe You know, a teacher is spraying somebody who's moving and a kid gets sprayed. Worst case scenario, in 2 minutes, that person who is not intended to be sprayed by this is going to be feeling better, as opposed to a chair or a baseball bat or something that could do long-term damage.
And I'll admit, I haven't been sprayed, but I watched you and what it did to you, and I've watched 2 other law enforcement officers that believed like you that, well, I've been pepper sprayed, this will be no different, and watched them go down pretty fast. And I thought, do I really need to be sprayed? I've watched 3 law enforcement officers, and all 3 said the same thing. This was way worse than the pepper spray. I think I can take your word for it, their word for it. Maybe I don't need to be sprayed. But the other thing that really sold me on this is because I've had people ask me about pepper spray for years, and I usually tell them outside it's great. The teacher that wants to use pepper spray as they're walking to their car late at night as something safe, I said, yes, it is a good tool. It's one layer to have along with your awareness and everything else. But if a bad guy comes into the classroom and you have all these kids, pepper spraying them isn't necessarily the best thing because the cross-contamination. And this doesn't have that. And do you want to talk a little bit about the cross-contamination of pepper spray versus the Presidia gel?
Yeah, I was asked many times, why don't we just use pepper spray in the classrooms? And that is the other reason why I was not a big advocate for it. I believe pepper spray does have its place. I believe it works very well on bears, but it's not the ideal solution for a classroom setting for the reason that you brought up. It goes everywhere. It's a very fine particulate, and it's very similar to smoke. If there is a match lit or something like a cigarette lit in one part of a building, it's not long before the whole building can smell that. And pepper spray travels in a very similar fashion. It could really hamper an ability to evacuate people, particularly little ones who may have a larger panic or fear response. Evacuating a classroom full of kindergartners through a cloud of pepper spray is not ideal. So that was one of the other reasons why I recommended not using that and recommended improvised weapons over that. In addition to that, if I can shoot a simunitions gun accurately at a target after being sprayed, then we know real world a bad guy could shoot a gun at people accurately after being sprayed. So that's why this is different. That's what's so significant about this, is this will interrupt that ability and not affect bystanders.
Right. And I thought that was great because, again, a lot of hospitals, they just said no on pepper spray, but they're allowing this in, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, for that very reason. The contamination of people nearby is not an issue. In addition to that, the reflex remove will decontaminate surfaces. So they have that continuity of operations in an emergency room if this is used. They can come in, they can quickly decontaminate that room in the ER or that area of the emergency department where this has been used and bring the next patient in right away. We can also decontaminate people if this is used on somebody, or if the police bring in somebody who's been sprayed. Reflex remove also works on OC spray or pepper spray. So it's valuable for the hospital in that way. The reflex remove can decontaminate that. And also another important thing for the hospitals is that this will not get in the HVAC system. So there's a larger problem that can be caused by discharging that fine particulate pepper spray in a closed environment. All of those problems are resolved with Reflex Protect.
Now, you mentioned cleaning up. How long and what does it take to clean up pepper spray after it's been inside a squad car or inside a jail cell?
It's very difficult. It's oil-based, it's tough to clean up, and that cross-contamination is a genuine issue. Just the simple act of cleaning it up, and if you're not very thorough about getting all that oil off your skin, you may rub your eye when you're done, and you'll feel the effects of that. So with Reflex Protect, it is self-dissipating. So not only does the Reflex Remove neutralize it rapidly, but if there was some part of unseen component or particulate that you missed, within 15 minutes, it begins to dissipate. For lack of a better word, it kind of evaporates. So the CS gel has a huge advantage there too.
And that has to be huge for businesses because they can't afford to be shut down, especially we're talking about ERs. Sick people, injured people aren't going to stop showing up because you have to decontaminate an entire area because of a workplace violence situation, which hospitals are the leading place for workplace violence. And I think that's why hospitals are using something like this today.
Yeah, the continuity of operations is very important. And when it comes to Reflex Protect in use with Reflex Remove, we get all the benefits that we were looking for in our improvised weapons without any of the drawbacks.
It seems like we both came to this product for the same reasons. It's a solution that wasn't there before. And I appreciate working with you, and I appreciate the ability that we have to help people stay safe and defend themselves with this new product. We want to thank you for watching this video. And if you have any questions for Ben or I about this product or how to use it, how it could be effective in your business or your home, put that question in the comments. We'll be sure to answer it. And then share this video with others because it is our goal to provide information and a product that will help keep people safe and give you the ability to defend yourself if you have to.